Hi, I'm Shoestring Jay and welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things thrifty, frugal and money saving. And today I thought I would talk about how you can be frugal and adopt a frugal lifestyle without feeling deprived. So first of all, before I start that, I just want to say thank you to all the nice comments on my last video where I gave you a tour of Shoestring Cottage, because it was very, very clean and tidy. Sorry, the sun's just come out and made my hair disappear. I gave you a tour of Shoestring Cottage because we are about to put our house on the market. And so many of you said, why do you want to sell your house? It's really lovely. You've got a gorgeous garden, a lovely setup. And to be honest, we do feel a bit like that now. I mean, there are two reasons why we want to move. The first is that we would like to live outside of the town. We would love to live in one of the surrounding villages. We've got this, me particularly, I've got this idea of living in a real community, you know, where you can get involved and get to know people. And actually, you know, the neighbours around here are really nice, bar one, which is a thorn in my side really. But, you know, they're really nice. But there's no real community. There's no events going on. It's just the suburbs, you know, there's nothing. It doesn't have that kind of cohesive kind of feel really, and maybe that wouldn't happen in a village either, but we go to a lot of village events and some of the places that we want to go to, and I'd say there definitely is. The problem we're finding now though is that we are spoilt here. We've got a lot of space, we've got a very solid house, we have got a very lovely large garden, but we are in the town, we're spoiled, and because we're on an ex-council house. If you're in America, that's like a local authority house, it's social housing. We've bought it, but it is an ex-council house. So there's a bit of snobbery around that. So it does mean that the asking price for our house is less than it would be if we were just a couple of streets away on a house that's very similar in age and design, but is not an ex-local authority house. So it's stupid really, isn't it? But there's still that kind of element of snobbery, really. And that does mean that the houses we want to buy in the villages, we can't really afford to buy. So we're having a bit of a struggle trying to find enough suitable places to view. We did view one today, and we've got a couple of viewings booked for in the week. I think we need to accept that if we want to live in a village location, we have to go smaller, but we don't mind that. You know, we have a 3-bedroom house because we had 3 daughters living here. The 3 daughters have all gone. So we don't actually need a 3-bedroom house. We could go to a 2-bedroom house, we go to a smaller house, a smaller garden. We don't want a massive garden, to be honest. So anyway, I will let you know how it goes. It may be that what you say is right, and actually we have such a good setup here that we're mad to think about moving, and it may be that we'll stay here, so I'll let you know. Editing Jane has just popped in here because I realised I forgot to tell you what the second one was, and that is that we do have one really nasty neighbour who just kicks off every now and then towards us and other neighbours and towards his wife, and he's just basically a really vile person, a vile human being. So that is the fly in the ointment of us living here. It's not the only reason we want to move, and we won't move just because of him, because we can manage him, but he's, you know, we could do without neighbours like that, frankly. Most of our other neighbours are lovely though. So anyway, just thought I'd add that. But back to the subject of the video for today. My sister gave me this little trinket box once, and I tried to find it. I think I must have given it to the charity shop, and it had a lady, one of those kind of 1950s ladies, cartoon ladies, saying frugal is such a nasty little word or something like that on it. And I thought, well, it's obviously a joke, but it isn't really a joke, because that is many people's attitude to frugality. People think that being frugal means that you are mean, you're a skinflint, you deprive yourself, you don't have any fun, and you just can't afford to do anything that other people would do to enjoy it, or you don't want to because you're a skinflint. But to me, I would say, and to most people in the frugal community, it's a conscious decision. You are conscious with your money and your spending. You don't deprive yourself, but you don't just buy anything. You don't buy stuff you don't need. You have control of your money. So that's a good thing, isn't it? You have control of your money, you get best value, you don't waste money, you don't waste anything. So being frugal doesn't mean being mean. So But it is tempting when you first kind of develop this frugal lifestyle to kind of say, I can't afford this, I can't afford that, and I can't do anything, and turn things down because you think you can't afford them, or your goal is, you're so focused on whatever your goal is, be it paying off your mortgage early or working fewer hours, maybe, whatever your kind of vision is for your own future and the reasons for you developing a frugal lifestyle, whatever that is, you're so focused on that you think you're not allowed to spend money on anything else. Whereas I think, well, by being frugal, I can release the funds to do some of the things that I want to do. So it's about being conscious, isn't it? It's about having control of your money. It's not about being mean and depriving yourself. So I should say, when I'm talking about a frugal lifestyle, I'm not talking about people who are literally on the breadline, who are maybe on benefits or really struggling to support their family, they've lost their job or whatever. I'm not talking about people who don't have enough money coming in. I'm talking about the majority of us who probably do have enough money coming in but don't really spend it wisely. And I have made so many mistakes in the past with money. You'll know that if you've watched my videos before. I was useless for so many years because I was totally ignorant, and it just never occurred to me to do things differently. So I'm talking about what I'd say is the bulk of people who kind of aren't conscious with their money, who kind of spend blindly and don't think about the future and just kind of take it day by day. And if they have a bit of debt, it's just normal. People have debt, don't they? It's just totally normal. And that's exactly what I was like. I'm not talking about people who are genuinely deprived, because some people really just are struggling, this heating or eating dilemma and that kind of thing. And, I could say an awful lot about that and how I think it is so wrong that we have anything like that in a country as wealthy as the UK. And I know it's the same really probably in many countries, but anyway, I'm not going to do that in this video. We'll go off onto a rant and I will get sidetracked and we'll be here for 3 hours. I'm just talking about most people who are trying to embrace a frugal lifestyle, save a bit of money. Maybe, like I said, you've got a goal, you want to work less. I mean, I have found personally it has enabled me to work a lot less and enjoy my life more and do some of the things that I really want to do, rather than just doing the 9 to 5, feeling miserable and exhausted all the time, which is exactly how I felt 3 years ago, before I took voluntary redundancy and started doing what I do now, working for myself. So getting back to not feeling deprived, here are just a few ideas. Now, this is not comprehensive in any way, shape or form. They were just kind of the first things that I was thinking about. So the first is takeout food. And we have actually had a takeout recently. It was really nice. I'm not saying never ever have a takeaway. I'm just saying that it's very easy to get into the habit of, you get home from work, you've had a really busy day, you're really tired, and it's just so easy to look on Just Eat or Deliveroo and order a takeaway. And you can be like 25 quid lighter just for one meal if you do that. Some people have that for their whole week's food. So it's really easy to do that and to spend a lot of money. And when I was younger, when I was first married to my first husband, when I was utterly useless with money, as I said before, I would think nothing of having a takeaway. And it wasn't even that easy in those days. You had no delivery, you didn't have anyone coming. You actually had to get off your backside and go and buy the food at the Chinese or the Indian or wherever you went. There wasn't quite so much choice in those days. You had to make an effort, but it was still easier than actually going home and doing the washing up from breakfast and clearing the kitchen and then starting the dinner. And it was so tempting. We were both on reasonable wages. Our house cost us like £40,000 or something ridiculous at times, so we didn't have a massive mortgage. We still did it, and I know that people do that. I've had several lodgers, about 3 lodgers who Deliveroo practically was on my Christmas card list. They were here so often. One particular girl, she literally, I don't think I ever saw her cook. I don't think I ever saw her cook. And she wasn't on a lot of money. None of them were. They weren't on a lot of money. That's why they're renting a room in my house rather than, getting their own flat. But they thought nothing of spending really a lot of money on constant takeouts. And obviously cooking for yourself is a lot cheaper. That's a cheaper option. But we're talking about, when you're just tired, you're just exhausted, you've had a bad day, and you just want something very, very quick. And there's a few alternatives, a few things you can do. Firstly, and we have done this recently when we've had a day's decorating, gone to Sainsbury's or Tesco's or one of the supermarkets that do this, and they do a meal deal, and it will be Chinese or an Indian usually, and you'll get a meal for two, so 2 dishes, a rice dish, two main courses, a rice dish, and some sides, maybe a bit of naan bread, that kind of thing. So you feel like you're having a bit of treat, but it maybe costs you £7 or £8 as opposed to £30 or £40. So that's the first thing. And another thing would be to just consider something on toast. There's nothing wrong with something on toast for your dinner. Something like egg and beans on toast, for example. I would say that's actually quite a good meal. You've got your protein, you've got your fibre, you've got one of your 5 a day in the beans, something like that. Or you could have mushrooms, or whatever, you've tinned or fresh tomatoes, that kind of thing. Just do something on toast. It's absolutely fine to do that. You're not going to be nutritionally deprived. It will take you 10 minutes. It doesn't cost very much either. So that's one thing. The other thing that I do quite a lot is to cook too much when I cook. So I'll make a massive casserole or a massive thing of bolognese sauce, and I'll freeze some of it. So then you've got portions in your freezer. You can, if you're really organised, you can take them out on your way to work before you leave the house, or you can just defrost them in the microwave, and just have them. So that's another thing to do, just to save yourself money and try and stop yourself spending all that money on takeaways. But I would say one extra thing to say on that takeaways thing is, if your budget allows it, then do have one night a week or one night a month, depending on how much you can afford, where you allow yourself a takeaway if that's what you really enjoy. So you do have a treat and you don't feel deprived. So this is what it's all about, isn't it? Not feeling deprived. So another thing that comes to mind when you are talking about deprivation, feeling deprived, feeling like you wish you could have this particular thing, would be new clothes. And I was terrible for this. When I was younger. Just thinking, I just feel rubbish, I'm going to go and buy myself something new. Just give yourself a treat. Now, I'm in my office, which is full of second-hand clothing, which I sell online. But I also buy most of my clothing second-hand, nearly all of my clothing second-hand now. It's really easy to look at, I was going to say glossy magazines, but these days it's more likely to be some kind of influencer on social media or on TV, and see what they're wearing and wish that you could afford to buy that kind of look, and wish you could afford to look so glossy and expensively dressed and that kind of thing. I mean, the first thing I would say is just don't do it. Don't watch it. Chuck the magazines away. Don't do it. If you don't see it, you're not tempted. However, this is the real world. You may not want to do that. You may enjoy doing those things, and watching influencers. But what I would say is that I do know a couple of influencers, and they are gifted so much stuff. They're gifted so much stuff that they don't know what to do with it. They don't want it. They don't appreciate it. So, they're gifted a lot of stuff. They don't have to pay for it. I know they could probably afford to pay for a lot of it. And they even sell a lot of it. There are agencies, there are online sites where influencers can sell the stuff they've been gifted. So they actually make a profit out of it. In the real world, that's not us. And we're never in a million years going to look like an influencer or be able to have the kind of budget that they've got to buy clothes. And remember that they don't even need that much of a budget because they are gifted most of it. So my point is that dressing like that is not real. It's not realistic, and you don't have to do it. And why not develop your own style? You can still be fashionable. If you like looking in the glossy magazines, you can see a style. You don't have to go into those shops and buy exactly those items. You can kind of copy the vibe and buy things at charity shops. Vinted is really, really good. It's very, very cheap, Vinted. It's taken off, but people aren't asking a lot for their second-hand items, so it's a really good place to buy clothes. And my favourite is boot sales. We're in summer in the UK. This is when you'll get the boot sales, and you get the best bargains there. People have had a massive clear out and they just want rid of the stuff, particularly by the end. You might pay a bit more at the beginning, but by the end they just don't want to take it home. So I think that, developing your own style and kind of sticking, not feeling deprived, not feeling you can't buy any new clothes, buy new to you clothes instead of buying brand new. And once you start doing it, you will pick up new items that somebody has bought as an impulse purchase, never worn, and then they've given it to the charity shop, or they're selling it online, or they're selling it at a boot sale, and you'll get brand new clothes, but you'll see the label and you'll see that they paid maybe 50 quid for a pair of trousers, and you'll probably pay £2 or £3. So that becomes quite addictive and very satisfying. So once you start doing that, you will think that you've got new clothes, you won't be deprived, and as I say, you can have a style. I know, I'm not a style icon, I really don't care. I'm nearly 60. I'm past caring. I work from home. Most of the time I'm walking the dog or doing the gardening, I don't care. But a lot of you will have a lifestyle that demands that you are much smarter. Perhaps you go out to a lot of social occasions and you work in an office, and a certain level of smartness is expected. So that's what I would suggest. You can still buy new to you clothes, just don't spend a lot of money on them. And the next thing I want to look at, and partly because this is something that's actually really important to me to do, is to have holidays and do a bit of travelling. I don't do a lot of foreign travel these days because it's too expensive, but also because I kind of feel I did a lot of that in my youth, and I did it on a budget even then. So it's more than possible for you to travel the world and see lots of things and have lots of experiences without having to just use your 2 weeks a year and spend all your savings on a nice holiday somewhere. You could do something a little bit different, think out of the box. So for example, one of the things I did when I was in my 20s was I volunteered on a kibbutz in Israel, and Israel is a beautiful country. And I know they have some trouble in some areas, but you can avoid that. You can keep your eyes open for it. It's not worth missing out on, really. So I had to pay my airfare there, and I saved up for that. When I got there, they give you expenses, they give you board, they give you all of your food, and they even took us out on excursions and things. We went to the Dead Sea, went to the Sea of Galilee, a few other places, Masada, I think, and it was just a great experience. I met people from all over the world, and it cost really very, very little. It was so worth doing. I wouldn't recommend this, not now, and I wouldn't have wanted my daughters to do it, but I did do a lot of hitchhiking around Europe with my boyfriend, so I wasn't alone, and that obviously was free. So we went around Europe, we stayed in campsites, and we hitchhiked. But as I say, you might be better off organising some form of car share nowadays. So also worked as an au pair for 6 months. I wouldn't recommend this if you really want to see the world. But you can go to a city and work as an au pair maybe for 6 months or a year. I worked for 6 months in Brussels, but it is kind of tying. They do expect you to be there like 6 days a week a lot of the time. I mean, for mine, I think I had a Sunday off every other week, and then a whole weekend off every other week, the other weekend. And they pay you very little, so you don't have a lot of money to go and do anything, but you do get your board and your food, and you get an opportunity, if you're right in the city, to see a city and really experience it. So it's worth looking at. If you're younger, obviously you're not going to do this at my age. I don't think it's something for my age. It's good for your gap year or something like that. But if you are older and you've got a profession, there is VSO, of course, voluntary service overseas. And I do know people that have done this, teachers mainly, who have gone to volunteer overseas. Again, you usually have to pay your airfare, I believe, but you get your board and you get expenses, you meet people and you do good, you do some good. I have an old friend who went to Indonesia to do this in his 20s. He's now in nearly 60, he's still there. He married his VSO teacher and never came back. So, who knows where that adventure will take you. You can do a TEFL qualification as well, can't you, teaching English as a foreign language? I think there are a couple of other organisations that offer a similar kind of thing, and you can use it here. Obviously you can use it in your home country, but you can go abroad. My nephew went to Thailand and he was there several years teaching English to kindergarten children. He absolutely loved it. The other thing you can do if you've got an interest in farming is woofing. That's worldwide opportunities on organic farms. That's a mouthful, isn't it? So you can do a bit of woofing. Sounds a bit rude, but actually it's going to work on farms. And again, you can do it all over the world. And I think you really have to have some form of interest in farming, though. They don't want somebody there who's not interested and doesn't want to learn, and you just get in the way. So, but that's worth looking at. So there are lots of ways to see the world without breaking the bank or having to, remortgage your house. So it's worth thinking out of the box. And we do that with our regular holidays. So these days we'll perhaps just have a week or two here and there, usually in the UK. Sometimes we're going to Europe. And we try to look for really unusual accommodation that doesn't cost as much. I have done a video on frugal holiday, so rather than go through it all here now, I will link in the description box below to the video where I talk about different ways to have a frugal holiday. And the last thing I want to mention in terms of not feeling deprived when you are developing a frugal lifestyle is hair and beauty treatments. I have mentioned this in previous videos because I've done this a lot in the past. Had gone to the local hair and beauty college to have haircuts. I've had my eyebrows waxed, I've had manicures. You can have massages as well. That's one thing that is on my list to do. Go and let the students practice their massage skills on me. And you know, you can do all sorts of things, even salons. Actually, I had a completely free haircut in a salon one day because they had a student night and it was completely free. It did take a long time, and that is the thing. If you are in a hurry, then perhaps this tip won't work for you. But if you're happy to perhaps take twice as long as you might in a normal salon, a hair or beauty salon, then you can get a treatment for very little, and you won't come out with pink hair or, you know, one eyebrow, because they are very closely supervised by their tutors, the students. They are very careful because they're learning. They've had quite a lot of experience by the time they let them go on the public though. So I've had several haircuts. I've had worse haircuts at an actual salon where I've paid full price. So I would really recommend that. It's really worth doing it. Just Google, you know, your local area hair college or beauty college, or keep an eye out when you're in town. Look at these salons, or go in and ask, do they have a student night? Do they have any students? Do they need any models? And you'll get, at the very least, a very cheap haircut or a beauty treatment, even if it's not free. So, you know, you don't have to feel deprived. You can still have these things that, you know, you might consider luxuries for just maybe a five or £10, you know, or even nothing, as I say. So I could go on and on and on, but I think this video is probably long enough for 1 week. My point is, it's important to feel that you're enjoying your life and that you're not missing out when you are aiming for a frugal lifestyle. And it's more than possible to do that. You know, you start to appreciate the things that don't cost you lots of money once you get into it, and you get really addicted to the thrill of the chase of getting a bargain as well. So let me know in the comments below what little frugal treats you allow yourself, how you get them cheaply. Please share so that we can all take on board your hints and tips. And if you enjoyed this video, please do give it the thumbs up. It really matters. And do subscribe. Don't just watch and then go away. Do subscribe. I'm going to go back to 2 videos a week now. I've had lots of time out where I've just been doing 1 video a week and very little else because I've been decorating the house to sell. So back to work now. So watch out, I should be doing videos Sundays and Wednesdays. So as I say, don't forget to give me the thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.